So, can you tell me how many of my typing sessions you've watched before?
Uh, Quite a few, but I just started watching them this past weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I've been into the MBTI for a while. I would say just this year though, I started paying more attention to the actual functions. But I saw your stuff, and it was very apparent to me that it was legit. So it's like this is the guy.
Okay, so just to sort of get a sense of where, like, okay, let me just ask the question instead of explaining it. Um, so, if I were to ask you, I'm going to ask a question, but what I'm mostly interested in is not the answer to the question, but what you think I'm testing with it. Okay, so
Okay.
which sentence do you mostly identify with, or more identify with? The sentence that says, I'm not fussy. I'm going to be fine. I'm worried about the Jennings. You know how they get all a little bit emotional about stuff. Or are you like, fuck the Jennings. I'm worried about my feelings and what, they can take care of their own feelings.
So you're referring to FE in the former and FI in the latter, I think.
It's the other way around, but yeah,
Well,
no, no, you had it right. You said FE in the former and FI in the latter, right?
yeah, FE for the Jennies and FI for fuck the Jennies.
Right, yeah, you had it right. My bad. You had it right. So, okay, cool. Which one do you more identify with?
Well, I internally I feel like fuck the Jennies, but I'm not displaying that emotion outwardly, because
Because people don't like to be told to fuck off.
well, that doesn't even really matter. Like it's just I don't care how a person feels for the sake of it, but if it's to get something done, then yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, can you? What's the first word? The old fashioned psychology word association game where I say a word and you say a word. The first thing pops in your mind. Okay. So, what's the
Sure.
first thing that pops in your mind when I say parrot?
Bird,
All right. How about France?
wine,
Okay. How about the beach?
turtles.
Okay. Now, can you tell me a personal anecdote from your own life that in some way you had some experience linking to first a parrot, then France, and then beach.
Oh well, there's this animal shelter down the road, and they had a talking parrot. That was pretty cool.
When's the last time you saw it?
Fuck, I couldn't tell you.
Was it in your adulthood or back when you were a kid?
No, I was an adult. I went there as kind of like a day date sort of thing.
Okay. How about France?
Uh, French women love 82nd Airborne soldiers.
Is that a personal story?
Ah, shit. I was in the 82nd,
Well,
but maybe I guess not person. Okay, I
no,
lost the
no, no, no,
concept of the
that's fine. No,
story.
no, 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 no. That is then. You got a link to it, which is basically your personal story is in your time in the 82nd, you learned this thing about French women.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the beach? Can you tell me a personal anecdote about a time you went to a beach?
Yeah, I just went to the beach on July 4th, took my son. It was a good time.
Okay. Can you share with me an incident from that day at the beach that's totally insignificant and you can't even explain why you remember it exactly? So, in other words, say I went to a restaurant. Oh, I remember when I was halfway through my soup, a lady across the way dropped her fork on the floor. There's no reason for me to remember that, but I might remember it anyway. Can you come up with a detail like that from your beach trip?
Uh, Something I just random. I mean, I remember stuff that kind of stuck with me about it, but I can't.
All right, can you picture yourself like at the ice cream stand and you go? No, son, you don't want to mix coffee, ice cream, and rainbow sherbet. Those flavors don't go together. Something like that, you know?
Uh, well, I don't know. I really don't know.
What'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I didn't eat breakfast this morning. I forgot to eat today.
Okay. What do you usually have for breakfast?
I normally don't eat breakfast. I start at lunch.
Okay, what do you normally have for lunch?
Uh, Different things. I might have a burger, or who knows, I might try to get a steak or something.
Quinoa salad.
No,
Okay. Um, do you go to bed at a regular time every night?
no, I never have.
Do you think your time in the military made you more regimented about your daily schedule, or it didn't set in you in the way that they maybe hoped it would?
Um, in ways, yeah, but in some ways, no, because I'm naturally sort of a messy person. I'm assuming that that just sort of gets to me after a certain amount of time. It gets too messy. I'm like, man, I need to clean this up. But generally, no. I just sort of try to put things in a way that's organized enough for now. I'll get to it.
Would you rather have a significant other who treated you fairly or respectfully?
Respectfully, for sure. I mean, because I'm respectful too. I don't mean that. And
Let me clarify. In one instance, you've got a partner who's always fair and just with you, but is rather brusque in her tone, or you know, isn't very polite, I guess you'd say. And the other partner is sometimes being not fair to you at all, but trying to sugarcoat it in a way that makes it more palatable for you.
I would prefer the former.
Okay. Do you feel as though you require more fairness from others or provide more fairness to others?
I think that I provide more fairness to others for sure.
Okay. Do you think your personal feelings are more useful in establishing your boundaries or knowing what you want to do?
Establishing my boundaries for sure.
Okay. Do you know what you want to do?
Uh, Not specifically. Um, Really, I just try my best to sort of be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. And the crazy thing is, I don't really have a preference for work. I mean, I know what I won't do. I'm not going to do something that I think is boring, but in anything that I'm interested in, I'll just try my best. And if I get tired of it, then there's always something else to do.
Do you find you get what makes you get tired of something? Is it the repetition of it, or is it
Yeah, that's it for sure. It's the repetitive, the monotony of uh, getting in the weeds and doing all that dog drum shit.
if if you had a job that was repetitive but very difficult to master, so that you know it requires a great deal of repetition to get better at it, and even after repeating it thousands of times, you're still not as good at it as Joe, who's a true master at it, or something like that. Would that would that alleviate your boredom, or would you still be bored?
Well, is that all that I can do? I mean,
Well, I'm talking about for work. I mean, obviously you've got your free time too.
that sounds great.
Okay. Do you are you engaged in any disciplines on your own time, such as playing an instrument, martial arts, like things like that? You can train. You can always improve, but never master. You know.
Yeah, I paint. So,
Okay. Cool.
uh, yeah, for the most part, well, I tried to learn to play on the keyboard, but I
Wait,
wasn't as interested as I thought. But painting's always been something, and I don't even do it all the time. I'll sort of come back to it off and on throughout the years, and
When you
I'll sort of see if I'm still sort of good at it and
is
just
it
periods of time.
is it an urge to create that brings you back to it, uh,
Yeah,
or
that's exactly what it is.
okay? As far as consuming media, do you like to look at paintings, or or is it do you prefer media like videos and TV and stuff?
Yeah, videos and TV and stuff. I don't know what painting is. It's sort of a soothing thing, I guess. It's not something that I necessarily feel compelled to do all the time. And I never really go there from a place of like eagerness. It's always from a if I ever feel I don't know, emotionally drained or something like that.
So,
That would inspire me to do a painting.
so you wouldn't consider painting to be something that you aspire to be like the best at, and or to be competitively successful at?
I don't think there's a such thing in that way.
There is, just not for very many people.
No, it's not. It's not. Well, for me, that's what it is, I guess, because I never really thought about monopolizing it. It was always just something that I want to do in my free time.
Yeah, I'm the same way with drawing. Actually, with music, I try to put it out there, and I hope to be successful competing against other instances of music, I guess. But with my drawings, I know I'm a terrible drawer, so I just I just draw for my own kicks. Okay, can you tell me what you think truth means
I think that definitely depends on the person.
to you?
Yeah, to me, to you too.
What does truth mean to you?
Uh, what does truth itself mean?
Well, you said it depends on the person, so I'm asking you, what does it mean to you then?
Oh, okay. Um, what is the truth? That's I've never been asked that before. It's an interesting question. I think the truth is something that you can't prove wrong.
Okay. Let me ask it from a different angle. Do you think truth is created or discovered?
Truth is created for sure to me.
Okay. So what about pi, the number pi? Pi r squared tells you the circumference of a circle. Is that created or discovered?
That was discovered.
Okay. So what's an example of truth that's created?
Uh, philosophy,
Okay.
I think.
Do you have an intellectualized moral framework? In other words, do you have a set of words you use to explain what morality is to yourself, what you ought to do or ought not to do?
Uh, it's fun. I would think so, but it's not like I wouldn't cross that line of something that I don't necessarily think is good, but I know what's good or bad. It's but honestly, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily. There are some things that are universally bad, but everyone's terrorist is someone's hero. So
Right.
what's there's no real universal good. It depends on your perspective, I think.
Well, I mean, you could be neither terrorist nor hero.
No, no, yeah.
Okay, so uh, how long does it take you to know whether you like a song when you're hearing it for the first time?
I know it instantly for sure.
Okay. How much, if you could break it into percentages, what percentage of music do you listen to that is songs that you like that you've collected over the years as good tracks, and what percentage is new stuff that you're searching through?
Uh, I would listen to 75% music that I know, 25% that's new.
Okay. Can you tell me some elements that that might eliminate a song from the ranks of being good in your opinion?
Uh, Unoriginal, uh, a lot of radio stuff. Some radio songs are good, but most of them suck.
Okay.
Uh,
So derivative is the problem. Okay. Is there do you have opinions about production styles? Like do you like drums that sound like this and not drums that sound like that or anything like that?
no, not necessarily. I mean, if I find a new sound that I think's cool, I like it now.
Cool. Okay. So let me ask some extroverted intuition polar questions to check to see for extroverted intuition polar. How many uses can you think of for a fly swatter?
Uh, you can swat more than just flies. You can swat any insect with it. My son would use it as a toy, most likely. Uh, yeah, I don't really know much else you can use a fly swatter with.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples, sort of any answers to this, and then I'm going to ask you a question for a different object, okay? So you could use a fly swatter. You could stick it up your butt and pretend you have a tail. You know, like just stick a little bit of it up your butt, pretend you have a tail. You could use it to as a flag to alert people. There are a lot of flies around here. You could you could strain your spaghetti through it very carefully. You know, you could you could you could use it to make a mold of something that looks like a waffle. If you had some dental mold stuff, so if you're trying to make a miniature statue of a waffle, then
Yeah,
you could do that. You could use the metal parts at the end and heat them up with your torch, and you could hot rail some concentrate with it. Or you wouldn't be hot railing it, but you hot knifing it, you know. Okay, so those are some any answers for how to use a fly swatter. Now, granted, I was looking at one right now, and you're not looking at one, so I
yeah.
have an advantage. But so is there a common object around you that you could tell me that you see?
Oh well, I see a wipe,
Okay,
which
how many uses can you think of for that wipe?
uh,
Unconventional uses.
I don't know. Wear it as a hat. Use it as an ice pack, or you could use it to cool your feet. You could slide across the floor with it. I
Okay,
don't know.
much
Take a shower with it. Hold it.
interesting, much better. Uh, have you ever heard me ask any inky pinky questions?
No.
Okay, so here's an example. I'll give you a clue, such as hilltop water spout, and I'll tell you it's an inky pinky, which means the answer sounds like that, two syllables each word. And the answer to that one is mountain fountain, because a mountain fountain is something that means hilltop water spout, and it's an inky pinky mountain fountain, right? Okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sometimes you get ink pink. So my second example is roadway flesh. It's an ink pink, and the answer is street meat. So the answer always rhymes. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with a fairly straightforward one. This is sunrise yard, and it's an ink pink.
Yeah, I'm lost.
It's dawn lawn. Let's try another one. This is a bunny addiction, and it's inky pinky. It's a rabbit habit.
Yo, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have never guessed that.
Okay. Is it? Do you get the concept of the thing? Basically, to make one up, you come up with a pair of words that rhymes,
Right.
and then you tell me a clue, and tell me the syllables. So, can you come up with one for me?
I really can't. I don't know why, but that's just sort of escaping me.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you some TI questions, introverted thinking, deductive reasoning style questions. Here's the thing. Based on those results on that NE, it is plausible but not certain that you're extroverted intuition polar. If you are extroverted intuition polar, then you'll do medium on these DRPs. So let's find out. Unless you're an ISTP, that's possible. It could be an ISTP. Then you'll do great on them. So okay, here we go. Who is my mother's father's wife in relation to me?
Your grandma,
Correct. Who is my mother's only sister's husband's only son's only cousin in relation to me?
your cousin.
No, it's me.
Shit.
My cousin's only cousin is me.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about it.
Okay, how about this one? If if some bears wear belts and all belt wearers enjoy baseball, is it necessarily the case that some bears enjoy baseball?
No.
Okay. If only people from Europe like Lindbergher cheese and I like Lindbergher cheese, am I necessarily from Europe?
You said if all people,
If only.
if only people, then yes, you'd have to be from Europe.
Okay, cool. Have you ever heard the hats question?
No.
So there's a warden in a prison, and he's got these three prisoners, and he brings them out, and they each have, 5 years left on their sentence. And he says, I've got a game I'm going to play with you. In this bag I have right here, there are 5 total hats. There are 3 red hats and 2 white hats in the bag. I'm going to blindfold each of you prisoners, and you're each going to pull out a hat and put it on top of your head. Now, they're little tiny party hats, so you won't be able to see your own hat, regardless of whether you're blindfolded, but you will be able to see the hats of the other people. Okay?
Yeah.
So each of the prisoners takes out a hat from randomly from the bag and puts it on their head, and the warden removes the blindfold of the first guy, and he says, First guy, can you tell me what color hat you have on? If you can, I'll let you go free. If you tell me the wrong answer, I'll kill you immediately, or you can decline to answer and just serve out your term as normal. And the first guy looks at the other 2 guys and goes, I can't tell what color hat my hat is. And so Warden says, okay, no problem. Goes to the second guy, and he takes out the second guy's blindfold. And the second guy looks at the other 2 guys' hats, and he goes, I can't tell you what color my hat is. And the warden goes to take off the third guy's blindfold. He says, don't even bother taking it off, warden. I know what color my hat is. And he tells the warden, and he goes free. What color was his hat, and how did he know?
What color were the two hats?
White. 2 white hats, 3 red.
Yeah, his was red because he saw that both of them had white hats.
Okay, his was red, but that's not why it was red. He didn't see both of them had white hats.
He didn't see their hats?
No, he did. He didn't see their hats at all. He didn't take.
Okay.
He didn't take the blindfold off. He said, "I can tell you without even looking at their hats what color my hat is."
Well, no, I couldn't tell the answer to that then.
Okay, so the answer is the first guy. He when his blindfold's taken off, he knows that if he sees 2 white hats, his own hat must be red. So he must not see 2 white hats. The second guy knows if the first guy had seen 2 white hats, then the first guy would have known his own hat was red. So the first guy must not have seen 2 white hats. So the second guy knows that if he sees the third guy's hat is white, then his own hat must be red. But he doesn't see that. He can't tell what his hat was. So the third guy knows that his own hat must be red.
Okay.
All right. So,
Well, I didn't get the logic behind it, but yes.
okay. So, that's fine. It's an interesting question in that it basically, I didn't get it at all at first. I had to think about it for a really long time before I figured it out. But the the gist of it is you've got to put yourself in the mindset of each of the people before the third person,
Okay.
and you got to say, well, what were the conditions under which person one would have been able to know the answer, and then you add the piece of data from that after person one doesn't know the answer, and you say, okay, now what are the conditions for person two under which he would know the answer, given this additional piece of data? And once you've resolved those, it's like the only possibility is that the third guy must have a red hat, because in any other scenario, one of the first two guys would have been able to say what color hat he had on. Okay, but regardless, let me ask now some. What's the very first step in taking the trash out?
You open the lid.
Okay. Can you describe a 5 step plan to brushing your teeth to a caveman who's just been defrosted? He speaks English, but he's no experience with toothbrushes or sinks or toothpaste or anything. In just 5 steps, you got to leave him a note. When he wakes up, he needs to brush his teeth. He doesn't know how. What are the five
Yeah.
steps?
Uh, Pick it up, put it to your mouth with the bristles towards you. I'm sorry. Pick it up, squirt toothpaste on the bristles. Pick it up to your mouth with the bristles facing you. We'll put it in your mouth. Move it side to side, up and down throughout your teeth. It's 5.
Yeah. Okay. Here's I'm going to tell you an example again of the kind of thing I'm looking for, and then I'm going to ask you to give me your corollary. Okay, so I get mad at myself and yell at myself, say, "God damn it, Eric, you're so dumb." When I do something like this, I have to carry Mia from this side of the room to that side, and I pick it up and I turn. I start to walk towards that side of the room, and I realize there's something in between me and where I'm going. I have to go put this down and again move the thing out of the
Yeah.
way. That makes me yell at myself. Can you think of a little thing like that that's very specific that makes you yell at yourself, but you do it often enough that you keep repeating it anyway? You know?
When I get home, I leave my keys in my car all the time, and the door is always locked. And I was like, "Fuck, man! I have to go back to the car and get the keys." And I most likely forgot something else in there too.
Okay. What would make you more angry at yourself if you did that, or if you accidentally hurt someone's feelings?
Well, if I left my keys in my car, that made me more angry.
Okay.
It's just, yeah,
What about if you left your keys in your car, or if you accidentally made a social mistake that made you look awkward
yeah, definitely the social mistake would make me more angry
at yourself or at others?
at others, most likely. Well, not necessarily at them. Might just be sort of I don't know who I'd be angry at. I just feel anger.
Okay. Well, okay. So if you were to assign one of those two things, the key thing
Okay.
or the social mistake thing, one of them makes you more angry at yourself. One of them makes you more disappointed or sad at yourself. Which would you get more angry and which would you get more disappointed, sad?
Oh, okay. Well, I get more angry for leaving my keys and having to go get them, and
Okay, cool.
more disappointed about the social mistake. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm about. I think I have you. I have you narrowed down to 3 possible types. One of them is a small percentage chance. So let me just tell you what those 3 types are right now, and then I'm going to ask you to offer any thoughts that you had coming in, or what you think, and we'll see if we can resolve it a little bit more decisively. But I think and my first guess is you're an ISTP. The second chance is you're an ISFP, and third chance is that you're an INFJ. So, can you tell me what you thought you were coming in, or what have you been tested before as before?
Uh, well, I stopped taking the tests once I actually learned what the functions are, and those I've gone through the majority of them, just sort of trying to put myself in that perspective and seeing if I do see the world in that way. But I've come up with all three of these types. I've never, I don't know. It's weird to me because I know ISF. I don't really know ISFPs. I know INFPs. I work with one, and I don't know the.
You're not an INFP. There's zero chance of that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying but FI in that second slot is like if that's how it manifests. If it manifests, similarly in ISFPs and INFPs, I don't. I've always wondered, but once I saw that, I'm like, there's no way. I don't necessarily.
Okay, well, okay, so it's true that INFPs and ISFPs are both FI DOMs, but I would I would like to
Well,
hear what your impression is of how this person, the INFP, reveals her FI and what it is that maybe rubs you the wrong way about it, or so that I know we're talking about the same thing.
yeah, no, and I may be completely wrong, but I don't necessarily see anything come out of her. It's more like a maybe I'm wrong, but it's more of a general unwillingness to speak and sort of acknowledge a person when you're talking to them. It's not very much eye contact or like attention being paid to when you're trying to get that attention. It's strange, and I'm not sure how FI actually manifests, in such a high spot, but I generally equate it to a sort of shyness that I normally see,
Okay.
but maybe I'm wrong.
Do you think that? I mean, are you? That, that's saying this is an authentic talking with famous people typing session because you gotta check for the Rachel coughs in the background. Otherwise, it's not the real deal. It's probably counterfeit. Okay. So do you think that you're more likely to be annoyed by somebody who's pressing an issue like, no, that doesn't make any sense. You need to meh, 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 meh. Or you're gonna be more annoyed by somebody who's like, guys, let's just compromise. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Which is gonna annoy you more?
The second.
Okay. Would you? Could you picture yourself ever saying this, guys? Don't I know Kim Jong Un is a dictator and everything, but he's still a person, and no.
No, that's funny though.
Okay, so we can eliminate ISFP from the equation. I like I said, I didn't think you were probably FI. You seemed FE, but which brings us to the two beta quadrotypes, ISTP or INFJ. My tentative type interview is ISTP because you would seem to have expert intuition polar more than you have fifth. Although to really to really be definitive about it, we'd have to spend a lot of time on it. The thing is, you don't feel like I don't sense you digging around trying to find it, which is indicative of polar kind of like. How do you feel emotionally right now?
I feel pretty neutral. I mean, I'm neither high or low. It's just a normal day.
Okay. What's the physical sensation associated with sadness?
Uh, you're tired. I don't know. I don't really think about that shit, man.
No, Cameron, it's a lump in the throat. Now, did you know that that was a literal thing? It's not. It's not. It doesn't mean some. It's not a general. What do you think a lump in the throat refers to?
Well, you just sort of feel like you can't really talk, or
Right. Okay. So you
I don't know,
you
your
you
mouth's
get
dry,
it at
and
least.
yeah,
You get that it is in fact a physical. Not your mouth is dry. You feel a lump in your throat. It's like NI people don't seem to get this. This must be an NISI thing. But I have a corollary. When I was a little kid, they used to say, "Keep your eye on the ball," when when throwing the baseball, and I was hitting or whatever.
Yeah.
And it, I just assumed it was a metaphor for something like, try harder or do a better job.
That's
And
hilarious.
then, and then at some point, somebody made clear to me, no, I mean, literally, I want to see your eyes watching the ball all the way to the mitt. And I was like, oh, that's what you meant?
No, I do a lot of that shit sometimes. I mean, it's like, tell me exactly what you want me to do. If you don't tell me exactly what you want me to do, is like, I'm not, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so do you, when you watch YouTube videos that express opinions about stuff, do you find yourself generally negationary towards them, and or do you avoid watching such things because it makes you mad or something else?
So, repeat the question one more time for me.
So you're watching a video where somebody's pontificating about something, expressing some opinions about how things are or whatever. Are you
Yeah.
going into that likely to look for what's wrong with what they're saying, negating it in some fashion, or are you looking to just take away what you can find that's useful for yourself, or are you looking for them to do a good job of entertaining regardless, or something else?
Well, for the most part, I'm trying to find like discrepancies with what they would say.
Okay. Um, would people be more likely to call you warm or competent?
Uh, Competent, I would think.
I mean, that's how it appears to me. So the thing is, I'm pretty sure you're an ISTP, but it I could conceive of an INFJ successfully. Well, if you watch an interview with Eminem, he he seems like an ISTP, but he's
Yeah,
actually
I've heard that a lot.
but he's actually an ENTP because he's cultivated this interview personality that's appropriate to the context of the hip hop community, or was back when he was younger, and so in live interviews he's not very expressive at all. But just imagine him being an ISTP would be to imagine, like, he definitely would have no problem with the inky pinky tests, right?
Right. Yeah, obviously not.
So your affect is that of an ISTP, but so is Eminem. So affect is not a very convincing thing. Your TI tests are very strong. You could very easily be TI Dom. Any polar makes it that you're either a TI Dom or an FI Dom if it is in fact polar. And I agree with you in eliminating ISFP as a possibility. Now the thing is, you do periodically get very intelligent and TI competent third slot INFJs. Depends on what they focus on, really. But so just to sort of eliminate the possibility you're an INFJ, if if I hired you as a temp worker for one day and you had to do one of two jobs, you got a choice. You could either answer phones and deal with complaining customers, or you could go around and fix little persistent problems like broken latch here or wiggly doorknob needs to be tightened, things like that. Which one would you choose?
Yeah, I'd go and tinker with that little stuff. I just don't want to hear people complaining all day. That's like that's a bad day.
You're not part of the problem admiration fan club?
I don't get the reference.
Well, I mean, I think of, I might periodically complain about things, but I really don't like what I would call problem admiration, which is when somebody is complaining and then resisting all efforts to remedy the complaint, you know?
No, yeah, that's the worst. Yeah.
So that's what I didn't make up the term. I heard it at one time at work a long time ago, but that's what I deem problem admiration. Well, let's stand
Not
around and
say
admire this problem some more. Isn't it a big problem? Wow, look at it. It's causing us so much difficulty. How wonderful.
no, I think about that sometimes too. It's like some people just like it's like they like dealing with this stuff. It's weird. You can just cut it out of your life, be done.
Yeah. You don't seem like terribly an INFJ. I suspect that you're more likely to say something in too harsh of a way and realize that you kind of hurt somebody's feelings than you are to realize that you said something in too soft of a way and they didn't get the message. ISTP is the former, INFJ is the latter.
Well, in like normal social settings or like just me being myself, yeah. But at work, I understand that you have to play the game. So I sort of liven myself up just so that things run smoothly.
When someone comes up to you at work, you go, "Hey, it
Yeah,
is
no.
so, it is so good to see you."
No, I say please on the end.
Just add a please. That's your.
Yeah, I had a please, yeah.
That sounds like fourth slot FE to me. I'm pretty convinced you're an ISTP. Now we got 15 minutes left. I welcome any and all challenges to that notion if you disagree, and I will listen to any evidence to the contrary you want to present, and if you're right, I'll agree with you. But if you agree with it and just want to ask questions, or you direct the rest of the time as you see fit.
No, yeah, I wondered about that. But see, I'm obviously not as good as sort of typing people myself as I think I am because now I'm understanding that maybe I can't identify another ISTP, but I would sort of in real life go around trying to identify what I thought was each person just so I can get a feel of what would this thing manifest like in reality. So just based on that, I'm seeing a guy that I think's an ISTP, and I'm like, yeah, me and that guy are nothing alike. We're very far from each other in that way.
Ooh, I mean, this is the thing. To be an ISTP simply means you are logical, universal logic first, and then execution second. So, in other words, extroverted sensing, it's a function that scans the environment and notices or finds changes or opportunities to change things in its most real time manifestation. So the thing is, when paired with introverted thinking, it tends to make for a rather brusque individual that other people are sometimes intimidated by and or can think are rude potentially,
Yeah.
even though they're not. They're just business-like, I guess you'd say.
Well, yeah, it's sort of. Well, just to get to the point, because for the most part, like if I'm interacting with someone like a stranger, it's like for a purpose. So I'm trying to make this interaction as quick as possible, as smooth as possible, and fast, so we can go about our business. And if that comes across as like like I'm in a rush or whatever, I'm really not in a rush. I'm just really trying to limit this interaction to as much time as we need to get it done.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that sounds consistent with the TE absolute value in the fifth slot. You and SE tool. So it's like ultimately your frame of reference is for the world to meet up to your expectations, it has to be workable. In other words, it's gotta afford you and uphold a standard that problems are there to be solved and goals are there to be attained. So let's figure out how to do it. If other people are completely inept at that, or if a circumstance doesn't enable decent extroverted thinking, you will dismiss that person or that situation as fail. It's like our fifth slot is kind of pass fail. So People don't have to be great at their extroverted thinking to pass for you, but they can't be terrible at it. And if they are terrible at it, those are the people you have the most contempt for, especially if they impact your life in some way or public figures that you hear about a lot or something like that.
Okay, I get it. And so the anypolar, that's so in theory, someone that's an any dom, they would really be able to I would just be kind of out of my depth around that person.
Right. So
Which which is
I'm your supervisor type, which is why, although most people probably find you intimidating, I don't find you intimidating at all. And it's also why you are probably going to take seriously what I have to say about your type. So the thing is, you've got NI in the third slot, so you have an absolute value of introverted intuition. So do I. I have an absolute value of introverted intuition in the fifth slot, and I validate. Like so, you're looking for a singular answer that is satisfying and that can resolve all further questions about your type. And I'm not going to feel like my extroverted intuition has done its job unless it produces that NI outcome for you. So, in other words, that's the fifth slot NI. So, the other thing I would note is about the extroverted intuition polar is the difference between, and any Dom like me, an ENTP, I have to restrain myself from live streaming too much. Like if I just live streamed every time I had the impulse to do so, as I used to, it's not good for my channel. It's like you know, it's like the girl, like the girl who wants to give it up to absolutely everybody,
yeah,
you know.
it has no value. Yeah.
All right, so I have to restrain myself because when I'm being my normal self, that involves me talking a lot. So when I felt sad this morning, I made a video in the car. I got in the car, I was driving to the store. I had to talk it out. I I always have something to say, and I've got endless amounts of ways to say it. So as a consequence, that's my default means of being. Whereas with you, because you have extroverted sensing as a tool function, that means you you want to, okay, enough talk. Let's get this shit done. And that's why, because that's your tool function, it's your always the sort of always go-to way to approach things in the world. You never think to approach things in the world through extroverted intuition. So when I ask you, well, you know, what's a bunny addiction? You're not, you don't have the habits of consciously and voluntarily doing extroverted intuition, which is reaching out for random shit to try in your head. And you could call like a really mechanical form of extroverted intuition is if you're trying to rhyme a word. This one you could probably do and probably have done and will understand is if I say, okay, I'm trying to write the word boy. Okay, so boy, koi, doi, foy, goy, hoy, loy, moy, noi. You go up the alphabet, right?
Right.
That's a form of extroverted intuition. It's unusually mechanical one, but because it's got the alphabet as a thing to link to. But that process of trying random shit out is something that you don't really know how to do, and that you'll when you do it or when something calls for it, you'll mistake it for something else. So, like,
Yeah.
well, an example of mistaking 7 for 4 is easier to give with FI and SI. You gave an answer consistent with the SI with the 7-4 FISI, which is how does sadness make you feel? Sleepy. But the ultimate example of that would be if somebody said to a totally cognitive function unaware person, and they're FI polar, how do you feel emotionally right now? They'd say hungry, and just you know not get that there's this thing called an emotion. That's how our blind spots work.
Yeah, so that means that I totally miss flirting and all that sort of stuff.
Flirting? No.
Yeah, no, I don't catch any cues. Yeah,
No,
no.
no, 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 no. See, this is what I mean. You just demonstrated what I just said. That thing you're talking about, is FE. That's fourth slot.
See, it's fucked. Yeah.
What it basically means is if I tell you, look, here's you walk into a room, there's a bottle of chloroform, a rag, a coil of rope, and blood all over the floor. What's happened here? It's pretty obvious what's happened. There's somebody's been abducted or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So extroverted intuition is the thing that goes, well, not necessarily. I mean, that chloroform, maybe somebody collects old-fashioned chemicals. Maybe they're like chloroform and ether and blah and blah and blah. And that's what extroverted intuition is. It's whatever the truth is. Extroverted intuition goes either yes and builds off of it, or well, not necessarily, and gives other possibilities. The thing is, you also display your absolute value of extroverted intuition when you say, I I find the most criminal offense media can make is to be unoriginal. So you want to experience stuff that moves you on an NE level, just like I want to experience stuff that moves me on an FI level. I cry all the time when I'm watching cartoons. The tears just streaming down my face constantly. I'm like Dick Vermeil, if you're familiar with that old football coach. He'd always have press conferences where he'd go like, "I'm just so proud of these guys." It just looks like the fucking tears just streaming down his face. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, that's I'm honestly not surprised. I mean, I think I see myself differently, obviously, than because my own self-perception is kind of a little bit weird because I'm always thinking like I was being super nice. Why don't they think I'm being nice right now? And so I understand that, but I didn't understand that I sort of maybe I come off that way to people. Really didn't
it
because
it's
it's
just
funny.
fourth slot FV with TI because you're always going to be fair, right? So you're going to be like, well, hey, I'm fair, so what's the big problem here?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of confused that too because yeah, I sort of, and I think everyone should feel that way, or rather, I display that, and it sort of has fucked me in the past.
But I'm sure people who get to know you all go, he's a lot more approachable than he seems. You know, I'm sure they all say that. Personally,
Oh man.
I'm quite fond of ISTPs. They're among my regular typing customers, along with ISFPs and INFJs, because NI absolute value. They want a single answer that resolves the question. Yeah. On the other hand, if you get NI tool function, they don't really want you to resolve the question. Or if you got NI, well, NI tool is a little bit different, but if you got NI fourth, for sure, they don't really want you to resolve the question. Like ESFPs want to play, today I'm this type, tomorrow I'm that type, you know? If you have instrumental introverted intuition, you think the truth to be used to do new things all the time or different things with it all the time. It, Whereas ISFPs, ISTPs, ENTPs, ENFPs, INFJs, and INTJs, we're all going to be like, no, we need to know the truth because it's valuable in and of itself as it resolves the thing, you know? Resolves matters in dispute, which is
That makes sense.
worthwhile in and of itself.
Absolutely. No, yeah, this is cool because you know I sort of obsess over stuff. So I would say like this whole year I've sort of been on this quest to find what it actually is, and I'm always wondering, no, that might not quite be it. So no, very useful, especially for I guess understanding. But for me, I really want to know my MBTI type just to understand exactly where I can improve and what I don't know.
Check out Gen
I don't know
Xel's
what I don't
channel.
know.
Do you know Gen Xel? Or he's actually not called, I call him Gen Xel. His name's Gen Zennial, but
Genzennial.
it's spelled with
That
an
sounds
X.
difficult to spell. Yeah.
He's an ISTP. He's got a couple good short, easy to consume, consumer friendly videos on ISTPs. Whether or not you find the information particularly whatever, you still get to see You get to watch him be ISTP in addition to whatever
Right.
the value of the content is. So it's worth checking him out at least for a
Genzenio.
little bit. Yeah, Genzenio, but spelled with an X.
Definitely. For sure. For sure. No, I
Okay,
will, but
so I will share this with you. I will stop this recording now, and then I can upload it to Google Drive and share it with you privately, unless you want to give me permission to publish it, in which case I'll just publish it,
well,
or you can decide later.
can I put it off till later? Well,
Of course,
actually, I
yeah,
don't
no
really
problem.
care, man. You can put it up. It's fine.
All right, cool. Then I'll publish it
Yeah,
shortly.
cool.
All right, thanks a lot, and